Hello Year 5 and welcome to your geography lesson. Now, this geography lesson was supposed to be a little bit more interesting had we been in school because we had some fantastic books that Mr. Day had ordered from the library, and there was a fantastic rivers book that we could have used for this lesson. Unfortunately, because it's at school, I don't have access to it. So this may end up being a slightly more research-based lesson. It'll be probably a fairly short PowerPoint, to be fair. But hopefully the information that you do at home, we can then have a more fun geography lesson for the last lesson that we do before we break up for the summer. So we'll give it a go and see how you get on today, and we can almost gap fill and pick up where we were when we come back next week. Okay, so we are coming to the end of our unit. And we've been doing a lot of work on investigating different rivers. So today we're going to look at a specific river in detail. And actually, now I think of it, I might give you the opportunity to think of maybe some different rivers that you could do for your work, or maybe do it as the next project. I'll have a think. So we're looking at investigating river in detail, including the effects on the environment and the landscape. Okay, so the river that we are primarily going to be looking at today is the River Nile, which you all know. The River Nile. I know you would have studied this when you did your Egyptian topic in year 3. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video and I want you to write down 2 different things, okay? I want you to write down first everything that you already know about the River Nile. So I think way back to your year 3 topic when you would have done your Egyptians. And then what I want you to do is I want you to think of some questions that you could ask to find out about the River Nile. So what might you be intrigued to know? Is there anything that you don't know the answer to yet that you'd like to know the answer to? And I want you to jot those down as well. So just pause the video, give yourself a couple of minutes, write down what you already know about the River Nile, and then write down some questions that you would like to be able to find out by the end of this lesson. Okay, so pause the video and have a go. Okay, so the River Nile, as we know from our previous discussions, is the longest river in the world. Okay, it is, this is your conversion of kilometres to miles here, it's 6,670 kilometres. So it's over 4,000 miles long, really, really long. And as you can see from the map here, it almost goes from one north point of a continent all the way down through to the south, okay? Now, obviously, the River Nile is found in Africa, which is our continent, and it's primarily found or starts in our country of Egypt. So you can see on the little map up here, we've got the River Nile that runs and it comes all the way down past the pyramids and works its way down south, okay? So the River Nile has got 2 main tributaries. Does anyone remember what a tributary is? Okay, so it's a smaller stream or a river that then builds into a bigger one that obviously then leads out into the ocean, so to a bigger body of water. So it's got 2 main tributaries, so 2 main parts of it that split it off and take it down into the ocean. One's called the White Nile and one's called the Blue Nile. Now, the White Nile is the main stream of water, okay? And the Blue Nile is the source that has the most of the water and the silt in it. So the silt is all the sediment and the rocks and the mud and the sand that gets dragged out and then leads into the ocean. Now, they actually flow from different directions and then end up meeting near Khartoum, which is in Sudan, okay? So you can see here the expanse. This is an aerial image from looking on top of it. And you can see the vast expanse as it travels and it winds up here. And here you can see actually it's very industrialised here in that you've got life, okay? So you've got the houses, obviously you've got the beaches and the sand over here, but obviously you've got hotels, and obviously you've got the boats that come along there as well. So the River Nile actually runs through several different countries. So as you could see from the map beforehand, you can see how it almost starts from the north of Africa and works its way down south, and obviously it spreads off in different directions. So it goes to different countries. It goes to Sudan, Uganda, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Burundi. Now, other sources of the River Nile, so where you've got branches of the River Nile that branches off and leads off in different directions, includes going to South Sudan, Tanzania, Rwanda, Kenya, and Zaire. Okay. Now here you can see this is a much more populated area that's built up alongside the edge of the River Nile. So they've built a bridge here to be able to get across, but this is very highly populated. This is a very civilized area here in terms of the housing, okay? Would be very rich water resource, especially in terms of how rich the soil is going to be able to grow and to build things, okay? Now, as we know, that comes with lots of rivers and water and big, large bodies of water. There's lots of different habitats available to different animals, different plants. And as we can see here, we even have the hippos. Okay, so you've got hippos. Obviously, crocodiles is a very big thing with rivers. because they're very deep and they're very dark and they're very muddy. They're actually very well concealed, so it's a good hiding place for them to be. But one of the important things there in terms of habitats of plants is, like I said a minute ago, that river, the soil and the silt that's then pulled up either side of the river is very fertile. So obviously it's very rich with its nutrients that allows it to be able to grow things. A bit like when we talk about the fertile soil nutrient from Mount Vesuvius in Italy. Obviously, it's that very rich soil that allows them to be able to grow crops. Okay, and obviously because lots of plants can grow, it's going to attract lots of reptiles and fish because that's going to be their main source of food for them to be able to eat. Now, like we said, looking back from one of the previous pictures, it's very well industrialized at certain points as you work your way down the River Nile, especially areas where there's a high level of tourism, which is what we looked at when we looked at our mountains topic last term. So there's lots of major cities, okay, and these major cities provide the towns with water to use. So obviously some of the main cities, obviously we know the capital of Egypt, we've got Cairo, okay, that's going to be one of our highly industrialized area. It's one of our capitals, right from when the River Nile starts. So we've got the Pyramids of Giza. So it's got one of the highest number of tourist attractions year in, year out. So that's very well industrialised and obviously right along the edge of the River Nile. You've got Aswan, Alexandria, Luxor and Khartoum. So these will be very popular areas with tourists, especially on the River Nile. You've got that ease of transport to be able to get to and from places and be able to transport goods, being able to export things in and out of different countries and take them across the different continents as well. And you can see here that some of these ones here, you can see nice hotels here. So you might be thinking that very wealthy area, especially with the options of bringing in that export that comes along from those rivers as well. So although I haven't really given you a lot of information there, this is an opportunity for you now to go and do some research. So think about the questions that you wrote down earlier. Do you actually know the answer to those questions yet? What annoys me is that the book that's at school opens out into 3 big pages and there's a monumental amount of information on there, which I was going to try and give you. Unfortunately, because we only had it the week beforehand, I haven't been able to get my hands on it and photocopy it for you, but I will make sure that resource is ready though for when we come back and do our last geography lesson, where I think I'm giving you a project to go and research different rivers. So if the River Nile was one that you wanted to look at, we've got that. It's a whole book about rivers, so it's not just got the River Nile in, but they've got massive pages of lots of different rivers. So what I want you to do is, I want you to think about these questions at the same time. I'm going to move I always forget I can move my beautiful face over here. So think about why the River Nile is important to Egypt. Okay, think about what it offers in terms of transport, in terms of tourism, in terms of money, in terms of sanitation for water, habitat to plants and animals. Think about what would happen if the River Nile had never been formed. What would the impact of that have had on, well, primarily of Egypt, but some of the other countries that river runs through. So think about the benefits of the rivers and what would have been taken away had it not been formed. And how would that have then affected Egypt, both in the past and present? So this is digging a little bit into your history. Why would the river have been important in the past? What would it potentially have affected, which would affect effectively our course of history of what we know about Egypt, and how that would have affected things today. So whilst you're thinking about those questions, what I would like you to do is the following. So I'm going to give you a worksheet. I think I'm going to give you this worksheet here. I've got some questions for you, and this is going to be an opportunity for you to do a little bit of research, okay? You know when you do research, if you type in facts about the River Nile, Key Stage 2 or Year 5 or primary school onto the end of your Google searches, you know it's going to give you child-friendly pages. But because it's the River Nile, there should be lots of easily accessible information for you to look there because it's a very commonly searched thing on the internet. So I want you to have a go at doing those questions first. And then what I have also given that I'll send home as well. So I've got some question cards here. So how long is the River Nile? How much water does it have? Where is the source of the origin and the mouth of the River Nile? So where does it start and where does it finish? What kind of wildlife lives in or near the River Nile? What kind of plants grow there? Why is it important for those people who live near it? What activities can you do on the River Nile? The River Nile used to flood every year, which is an interesting fact, but it doesn't do that now. I want you to see if you could research why this is. What countries does it run through? Okay, I've gone through some of them, but I didn't go through all of them. And how many tributaries does the River Nile have and what are they? So obviously we've done the 2 of those before. This one might be looking at the etymology, so the where the word the River Nile comes from. Why was it named? where does it come from? Which major cities have been developed near the River Nile, and how many dams are there along the River Nile, and what are they called? So what I want you to do is I want you to pick. Could be one, could be two. Who knows, some of you may end up doing all of them and doing a big massive poster. It's up to you, but I want you to have a go at researching a couple of those questions. What I would like you to do is I'd like you to present it to me, okay? So I'm just going to zoom in on this so you can see it. Admittedly, there's double of them, but don't worry about the double. So I want you to choose a question card and look through different sources of information to find the answer. It might be that you managed to find some videos on YouTube, you might find something on the BBC iPlayer, you might find something from David Attenborough, because I know he's done some of the Blue Planet and the Rivers work. You might find something you just find for research on Google. If you happen to have any books or a library nearby you can go for it. What I want you to do is make sure that you have provided a detailed answer to whichever question card you're looking at. Then I want you to have a go at presenting it, okay? Now, we've got quite creative with our rivers topic because we've done so much research, especially with our history as well. Made you do the double page spreads, okay, where we've done the pictures, we've done the drawings, we've done the factual information. I want you to have a go at drawing it however you want. It might find that you draw an image of the River Nile and you have little facts and information coming off it. It might be that you focus mainly on Egypt and you could almost draw the map of the River Nile through where Cairo goes, and you could draw labels of the maps with the pyramids and other bits and pieces. Or you could simply just write down some of the information, some facts. You might want to make a poster, print something off, go for it. It doesn't have to be a big piece of work. You could just pick one or two of those key questions, and I want you to now have a go at doing that for me. That will help us with our work that we're then going to look at for next week. Okay, so have a go at the question sheet that I send home to you, which will be that one. Okay, pick one of the question cards to have a go at, and then I want you to have a go at them presenting the information whichever way you see fit. Okay, make sure it's good and detailed though, because you are going to need it for when we come back and do our last geography lesson when we return back to school. So it's important that you do it, otherwise you are going to struggle when we come back to school. Okay, so give it a go, see how you get on, make it neat, make it colourful, do whatever you want with it, but make sure it's done and make sure you've got enough information that you need for your next lesson when we return next week. All right, good luck with it, Year 5.